Listen up, maggots! Peak masculinity in 2019, devoting the entire front page of a men's magazine to a 16-year-old autistic Swedish girl so she can make guys feel guilty about driving fast cars. Listen, I know lads mags are a relic of a bygone age, but are we allowed as men to have any space where we can just be a bit bawdy, a bit risque, without the constant nagging threat of the wagging finger of sanctimonious judgment? No wonder men are afraid of being called gay if they embrace environmentalism. Have you done anything this week that Greta might disapprove of?
I don't tell people what to do.
This is exactly what you keep doing. You're acting like spoiled, irresponsible children.
I don't tell anyone what to do or what not to do.
I want you to panic.
I don't tell people what to do.
I want you to panic.
I don't tell anyone what to do or what not to do.
I want you to act as if the house was on fire.
I don't tell people what to do.
I want you to act as if the house was on fire.
I don't tell people what to do.
This is exactly what you keep doing.
Can you hear me? All I can hear is vacuous virtue-signalling sloganeering, being platformed by the very same transnational corporate interests responsible for gargantuan levels of CO2 emissions. If you want to assuage your own neoliberal guilt by amplifying cliched, cringe, pre-packaged hysteria, then fine, go ahead. But don't tell me that I have to listen to some emotionally manipulative Stepford child marionette being fed lines by her neurotic parents. The 1,000-yard stare of total condemnation. All your carbon taxes are belong to us. A church in Sweden appointed Greta as the successor to Jesus Christ. The two most recent deadliest mass shooters also both cited paranoia about the plight of the planet as a motivation for their massacres. If you're starting to think this feels like a cult, that's probably because it's a cult.
Join us.
And just like any cult, criticism or making fun of dear leader is met with swift punishment. Is the teenage girl scaring you, Paul? No. Unlike when the 16-year-old Covington High School kid smirked, and you all had hysterical meltdowns like it was the return of the Third Reich. Hi Greta, I've just booked some long-haul flights for my family to enjoy some winter sun on the beach this Christmas. Level of guilt being felt, 0%. Now that was a weak boomer joke, fine. But just look at the over-the-top, hand-wringing, righteously indignant response.
You have never done and will never do in all your life anything 100th as valuable and important as Greta Thunberg has done already.
13,000 likes. What exactly has she done? Pulled off a PR stunt in the name of reducing carbon emissions that will actually create more carbon emissions. Greta set sail on a $4 million luxury yacht with 6 members of her team, all of whom are flying back to Germany from New York when the photo op is over. That's 1,800 kilograms of carbon dioxide for each flight. Forget the yacht. She would have been responsible for emitting far less CO2 if just her and her father had flown to New York in the first place. Do as we say, not as we do.
I don't tell people what to do.
Like when Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle drone on about a climate emergency, vow to only have 2 kids to save the planet, then proceed to take 4 private jet trips in the space of just 11 days. Do as we say, not as we do. Like when dozens of celebrities descended on a Google-organised event in Italy to preach about global warming, having flown over from Los Angeles, spewing hundreds of thousands of tons of CO2.
Jason Momoa just shaved off his beard because people are destroying the planet.
Yeah, that's sure to offset the 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide being emitted by China every single year. If the poster child for environmentalism is some spurgy, browbeating, children of the corn-looking weirdo, how is that going to encourage anyone to care about real environmental issues? As James Dellingpole asks, why should we listen to a lecture from a child who hasn't even finished her schooling, whose frontal lobes haven't formed, who has no sense of humour, whose every utterance is the second-hand opinion of alarmist grown-ups whose doomsday claims she is completely unequipped to assess? Is it working? Is anyone actually listening? People across Germany responded to Greta's grand virtue signalling tour by emblazoning their cars with stickers that say, "Fuck you, Greta." Not the most welcoming reaction. The idea that Greta is some radical countercultural icon is also an insult to our intelligence. Who's calling her an icon? NBC News. NBC was owned for much of its history by General Electric. one of the biggest polluters on the planet. A company that literally dumped hazardous waste into major rivers for decades. But I'm bad for not bowing down and genuflecting at the feet of Gaia goddess Greta. Fuck off. We're all here transfixed by a debate about minute global temperature changes that may or may not happen. Alarmists screeching doomsday global warming prophecies, despite the fact they've been proven wrong time and time again. The same idiots that told us at the end of the 70s a new ice age was coming. The same idiots who told us overpopulation would lead to hundreds of millions of people starving to death by the 80s. The same idiots who told us the Arctic would be ice-free by 2014. And it was all total bullshit. Meanwhile, a real environmental threat, plastic suffocating our oceans and seas, gets marginal attention in comparison. Because global corporate interests can't hijack it to socially engineer society and tax whatever measly disposable income we have left. Westerners are being ordered to have fewer babies, despite the fact they're not having babies anyway, because the Earth is in crisis. Meanwhile, China dumps 8.8 million metric tons of plastic in the ocean compared to America's 0.3 million. China emits more CO2 than America and Canada combined. Why isn't Greta on her way to Beijing to point an accusatory finger at them? I'm supposed to look at this and feel ashamed when India pumps out 5 times more CO2 than the UK. Again, fuck off. Greta is just a human shield for the real agenda of the people who pull her strings. Neo-feudalism disguised as environmentalism. The raw lust for power and control disguised as right-on hipster activism.
I want you to panic.
Olá, tudo bem? Aqui é o tradutor e estou passando rápido só para mencionar que eu estou com outro canal e preciso muito mesmo da sua ajuda. Eu gostaria, na verdade. Então, por favor, clique no primeiro link na descrição, inscreva-se, ative o sininho e não se desinscreva, ok? Serão vídeos meus com uma produção um pouco melhor, com uma qualidade de áudio muito superior à que eu estou usando agora, mas eu preciso do seu apoio. Para começar esse canal eu preciso de 3.000 inscritos, eu estou com quase 1.000. Então vai lá, me ajuda, dá uma força. Obrigado, até mais. Fui!